Good morning, everybody. I want to thank you guys all for hopping on today. Today we're going to be going over the Pro Control line from RTI. I want to thank everybody again for taking time out of their day to expand their knowledge and learn a little bit about Pro Control. We got a lot to go over today, so with that ado, we are actually joined by Clint from RTI. Clint, are you there?
I'm here, Chris.
Hey, thank you, Clint. Well, I will let you roll into it. I do know you got a lot to cover. One thing before you start, I want to ask everybody, if you have any questions, please post them in the questions box. We'll take as much time as needed after the webinar to answer all your guys' questions. So wrapping up with that, Clint, why don't you rock and roll and talk to us about Pro Control?
Sounds great, Chris. Thanks very much. Thank you, everybody, for joining us this morning. As Chris mentioned, my name is Clint Forberg. I'm the Regional Business Manager for RTI and Pro Control. And I want to go over Pro Control with you folks a little bit this morning. Capital Sales has made the choice of making Pro Control and RTI their exclusive control lines, and we're very proud to be partnered with. And you already know the reasons to buy from Capital Sales. So I want to give you some of the reasons that you should consider maybe adding Pro Control to your lineup if you're not already doing it. It's a very versatile, very powerful control system, very scalable, but it's also designed with professional integrators in mind, both in technical aspects and the way that we go about doing our business. And we want to create a product that's exclusive for you, the custom integrator, so it's profitable. You don't have to worry about shopping online, but it's got a full, rich feature set that'll really allow you to not only program the system very quickly, efficiently, and profitably, but grow and scale the system to any size necessary for your particular job. As Chris mentioned, if you have a question as we're going along, please feel free to do it. We'll leave some Q&A time at the end so you can ask your questions. But if you have any current questions, add them into the question window, or you can add them in the chat window. And if I see them pop up, I'll go ahead and try and answer them as we go. If I don't answer it right away, don't feel bad. It means that I'm probably going to cover it in an upcoming slide, and we'll try and cover it that way as well. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it. Let's get started and start talking about Pro Control. So one of the things about RTI versus some of our other manufacturer competitors is Pro Control. It's designed to be an entry-level product. This was designed for professional integrators to compete with a lot of those entry-level control lines that are being sold online, big box retail stores, but we wanted to have something that was a little bit professional grade. We're using RTI's 25-year legacy of performance and system design to create a very affordable entry-level product that's exceedingly robust. It's something you can put into a client's project with pride and understand that it's going to perform perfectly and it's going to be easy to program, and you can also flex it to fit the needs of that consumer that you're using. It's not a cookie cutter type system. You can tweak it and customize it, or you can use it exactly as it is. It's completely up to you as the professional integrator. So it's a really basic line compared to RTI and some of the others. You're not going to see a lot of keypads, distributed audio amps, streamers. It's a basic control system. So we have two different remotes. We have two central control processors, the ability to use a smartphone or a tablet with an app, and we have a companion remote that goes along with that. We have some accessories that work along with it that we'll show you about, and just going to walk you through every piece of it. All right. So here's the two systems that we basically have in the Pro Control lineup, the R series and the Z series. And the signage should make it relatively easy to see what's what. Now, the pricing is also very simple. The R series is a one-way system, meaning it can communicate, it can control your device, it can make it sing and dance the way you want to, but it doesn't receive any metadata. There's no feedback on the R series product. It is a one-way control system. I press a button, the remote control can send IR out of the remote directly, or it can talk to the ProLink R central control processor. And I'll explain the differences between a central controls processor and a base station as we go a little bit further, because there is a significant difference, and I want to make sure you understand that, because it's really one of the keys to the stellar performance that Pro Control gives you versus some of our competition. So two series, the R series, $250 each piece, MSRP. So the remote costs $250 at MAP, and this is about 40 or 50 points to you. The processor costs $250 MAP. The Z series is bi-directional. So not only can we control that equipment, but we can also receive metadata. We can receive that feedback right on the screen of the device or on your smartphone or tablet. So control, feedback, album art, cover art on your iPad, those are all capable of being done with the Z series product. And it also gives us some notable advantages, things like TCP or IP control of devices, the ability to use drivers, the ability to scale to a very large level. So that's it. That's in a nutshell. The R series, the Z series. 250, 250 for the R, 450, 450 for the Z series product. So I'm going to start here with the R remote. Now, one of the things I want to make very clear to you is every Pro Control device has a touch screen on. Both of our remotes, the R and the Z, are touch screen enabled remotes. They're not soft keys to the side. It's a fully customizable 2.4-inch color touch screen display, and it's completely customizable. So you can put in different icons, you can customize the text, you can make it look any way that you want. But Pro Control Studio, our programming software, can also help you auto build this. I can sit down and build a Pro Control system with two-way control. Maybe you're controlling a Sonos device or a Nuvo device, maybe 4 zones of audio, thermostat, security system. That can all be programmed in a matter of minutes. It's very quick and very easy to do. And I'm going to tell you about some of the training options to learn more about the programming software as we move on. But let's talk about the R. And again, remember, this is a $250 retail handheld controller. It's exceedingly price competitive, so it has a lot of advantages. We talked about the touchscreen already. We talked about the ability for you as the integrator to completely customize that user interface. So use the one that the software builds you, tweak it, or build your own completely from scratch and use it over and over and over again. You can do your own custom graphics on it. The Pro 24R has a rechargeable lithium-ion battery, so there's no alkaline batteries in this. We plug it in, we charge it, and you can get several days of battery use. There's also an optional charging cradle for it, so you can just drop it right into the charging cradle and charge that thing up very quickly, very easily, set it right there on the coffee table. The Pro 24R has the ability not only to send IR out of the remote, but it can also send RF trigger codes to our central control processor, and it can even do both at the same time. So let's say you're doing a retrofit project, and maybe there's an old big screen TV, and you guys all remember how they used to bury the IR receivers inside behind the screen. You can't stick an emitter on the front of those. So with the Pro 24R and its legacy of RTI's programming background, you can also do IR and RF on a single button press. So you can have the remote control controlling that equipment in the line of sight, that Toshiba big screen TV buried into a custom bookcase that you can't replace, and still continue to communicate radio frequency to our central control processor, ensuring that everything is getting done exactly the way that you want it to. So you don't have to have line of sight. You can have it in line of sight, but you can also have it locked into a closet or put into a centralized rack. You can put it anywhere you want. It's a true custom type product. Now, unlike RTI products, the Pro Control remotes have IR learning capability built into them. So if you need to learn that obscure remote that you don't find in the IR library built into Pro Control Studio, it's a real simple process to learn it. And when you learn it, you have full visibility to the learning using the IR library manager. So you see the code set, you see the carrier frequency, you see the number of repeats on there. So it uses RTI's sophisticated IR learning routines. And if you are an RTI dealer and you already have our IR Pro professional IR capture system, you can use that in Pro Control Studio as well, but we build it right into the remote control. So IR learning built in. This will communicate with the ProLink R processor. And it's important to remember the remotes talk to their designated processor. So if you're doing an R series system, that means you need a ProLink R processor. R remote, R processor. If you want to do a two-way system, that's a Pro 24Z remote and a ProLink Z processor. They're not cross-compatible. The R remote will not talk to the Z processor and vice versa. They're designed to work together. So you need to determine from the outset, do I want a one-way system? Do I want a two-way system? The Pro 24 uses 433 megahertz RF for range up to about 100 feet. So we've got significant range, goes through walls, great RF, and the RF is a direct descendant of the way that we do things at RTI, who's known for having the best RF in the business. Nobody does it better. And the reason for that are central control processors. So I'll tell you about those and how they work. So many of you understand what a base station is, and base stations are great. They allow us to put the equipment in a cabinet. They allow us to have the equipment in a different room. It means we don't have to use an IR repeater. It means that we don't have to have line of sight to my equipment. I don't have to open my cabinet doors to control my cable box. So we all love the idea of RF control, but there's two very distinct ways to do that. The first, and the one that you're probably commonly aware of, is called a base station. And a lot of manufacturers have their own variety of base stations, but it's important to remember what a base station really is. A base station is essentially a dumb device. It doesn't really have any intelligence built into it. All it does is convert radio frequency signals to infrared signals via an emitter or a blaster. So in a base station type system, when I press a button, play, the remote control has that play command built into it, and it converts it to radio frequency. It sends that RF signal to the base station. The base station converts it to an infrared signal, and it sends it out the IR emitter that's glued to the front of your Blu-ray player. Play. So that's how it works. The intelligence lives on the remote control. Now, when you're creating an automated system, you're all professional integrators here, and the idea of having a control system in there is pretty simple. The idea is we're trying to simplify this control. We're trying to automate this control for our customer. So we do that by using something called macros. And macros, as you all know, are a series of commands. So when I hit a button, I'm not turning on the TV and choosing input 1. I'm not turning on the AV receiver and choosing the SAT DBS input. I'm not turning on the cable box and turning to channel 4, 3, 2, so I can watch ESPN. We're automating that process. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a button on the touch screen of our controller, if we have a touch screen, that says watch TV. And the idea is it takes all that knowledge. They don't need to know what's plugged into what. We automate that process. They hit watch TV, it turns on the TV, it turns it to the appropriate input, it turns on the AV receiver or the sound bar, it chooses the correct input, it makes sure that the Blu-ray player is on and the tray is open. So we're automating that process, and that's called a macro. So it's a series of interconnected steps automating a process. This is fundamental knowledge. We all know this stuff. But I want to talk about the difference between the way that's handled in the Pro Control RT environment versus some of our competitors. And that's what we're talking about, the difference between a central control processor, like the ProLink R, and a base station. So in that base station-based system, if we're creating that automated macro, that watch TV, that watch movie macro, and by the time you get all those commands in there, that can take several seconds in order to execute. Maybe it takes 7 or 8 seconds. In a base station system, not a Pro Control system, but a base station-based system, all of that intelligence, folks, it lives on the remote control. The remote control is the smart part in a base station system. So when that customer presses that button that says watch TV, what does it do? It starts passing voluminous amounts of radio frequency because it's got to send that entire 6 or 7 or 8 or 20-second macro if you have a projector in there. So there's a steady stream of communication between that remote control and that base station. As the base station receives the RF, it converts it to IR, and it controls the equipment. What happens if during that 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 or 20 or 50-second macro, somebody starts the microwave, the air conditioner cycles, somebody turns on the blender? As you all know, our homes these days are nightmares of RF interference. And if while the remote control is spinning 10 seconds of RF, and one of those things happens, maybe there's a leaky start capacitor on the air conditioner, it shoots out just a bunch of noise, all of a sudden what happens? Maybe that base station doesn't receive complete information. So what happens is, since it's just a simple converter, it doesn't really have any brains to it, it misses part of that macro. And the next thing you know, you have a customer calling you up, excuse me, it's Sunday, and he says, hey, I'm trying to watch the football game, I hit the watch TV button, I can hear it, but I have a blue screen. Something didn't happen. Or maybe I can hear the sound, but I can't see the TV, or vice versa. Anyway, if that macro gets interrupted, something's happened. So that's the problem. And even though it's not your fault, you didn't create that RF interference, it's still your problem because you own that system for forever. As a former integrator, I know that customers are not shy about letting you know when something needs to be repaired. So the idea is let's put in reliable stuff in the beginning. So let's explain the difference between a central control processor. Now, a processor like Pro Control and RTI, it looks like a base station. It's a black box, it's mounted on the wall or sit in the rack. It's got places to plug in IR emitters. Maybe it has relays. Maybe it has an Ethernet port. It's got an RF antenna on it. They look exactly the same. It's a black plastic box. But here's the difference. In the RTI environment, the intelligence does not reside on the remote control. It lives in the central control processor. So that play command, it lives on the processor, not on the remote. That macro to watch TV, it lives on the processor, not on the remote control. So in a Pro Control system, if I press watch movie, it's not going to send a 10-second, 12-second burst of radio frequency, folks. It's going to send what we call an RF trigger code. Bang, it's just a little command. Q19, I don't know what it is, but it sends that trigger code to the ProLink R processor. ProLink R says, oh, someone pressed the watch movie button, So I'm going to send an IR command to the TV and turn it on, turn it to input 1. I'm going to send an RS-232 string to the receiver, turn that on, choose the appropriate input. So there's no chance of RF interference making part of that macro happen. Instead of sending that long string of information, we're just sending that trigger code. That's how we get rock solid performance using RF. We put the intelligence on the central control processor, not on the remote control. Now, I want to qualify this for you, folks. You can use Pro Control remotes as a standalone device. You are not required to use the central control processor. If you want to use this just as a basic remote control, point it at the equipment and control it with full macro capability, you can absolutely do that because we do have intelligence on the remote control. So you can have the remote control the entire system without a processor. If you have no need for RF capability, you can absolutely do that. But when you add the processor, that's when it gets to be a really powerful system because that's when we have the ability to have that processor in there, have that bulletproof, reliable RF capability and control that system. I hope that makes sense to everybody. If it doesn't, please let me know. I'll try and answer any questions as they come up in the chat window. I see a couple of questions in there. I'll try and answer those for you. I think I'll cover those in a future slide, so I'm going to leave those for now. Some pricing questions. And for pricing, the best place to do it is go on the Capital Sales website, log in, and you can see up-to-date current pricing on all the Pro Control devices, the hardware, the software, the licensing keys, it's all up there. And someone's also asking about a device compatibility list by category, and you can see that directly in the software. When you open up Pro Control Studio, it not only has the IR command library built in, the RS-232 command library, but it also has an updated list of drivers. And the software is live updating, so when you're online, you open up the software, it's going to tell you if there's a new version, you can download it. And unlike RTI, you don't have to go hunting for the drivers. We don't keep them in a database somewhere or on a website. They're actually built into the software, so you always have the most current, most up-to-date features. If the question that the attendee is asking is if we have an up-to-date list of all the driver and IR capability, we don't. It's updated so often, so frequently, it'd be just an incredible amount of work to manage a paper list in order to do it. So the best thing to do, download the software. It is free. It's no charge. It's available from Pro Control's website, and your Capital Sales representative can help you get access to the website, which is protected. We want to make sure that only authorized integrators have the ability to get it, but you can see exactly what's compatible. But I do have some integration charts later on that I'll show you, some of the devices that are controlled that you're probably asking about. So thank you all for the questions. I really appreciate it, and thanks for allowing me to have the time to answer them for you. So we talked a little bit about the R system. Remember, $250 retail each piece, remote control, the Pro 24R, the ProLink R processor, a one-way system. So now let's start talking about the two-way system, bi-directional capability, which means not only can I control the equipment, but I can receive that metadata, I can see that feedback. Again, the Pro 24Z has that 2.4-inch color touchscreen display. That's a big deal. We don't have a limit to the number of buttons that are on our screen. We don't have a limit to the number of devices that we can control. We don't have a limit to what the user interface looks like. You can build exactly what you want. There's an unlimited number of devices you can control. You can control as many rooms as you see fit. You can have as many systems in a project as you believe necessary, up to 256. So you could do a hospital, you could do an apartment building, you could do a senior living home. There's all kinds of things that you can do and not have to worry about any cross-talking of the system. So the Pro 24Z is our Zigbee device. It uses Zigbee as its communication method. It still sends IR up the front if you need to for any reason, but now it uses Zigbee to talk to its processor versus RF. And the reason you use Zigbee is it is a bi-directional protocol. I can tell the processor to control my equipment. The processor can pull the equipment it's controlling and say, hey, it's already on input 3, or Black Sabbath is playing on Sonos right now. And we can see that right off the screen of the device. Again, it's a rechargeable battery. The charging cradle is included with the Pro 24Z. So remember, it's a very inexpensive optional accessory for the R. Otherwise, you just plug it in using the provided charging cable like you would your cell phone. But you can provide, for very, very minimal cost, you can add the charging cradle as an accessory to that. The Z includes it. IR, RF, both at the same time, IR learning built in, but bi-directional control, bi-directional capability, a full selection of completely programmable hard buttons, a completely customizable UI so you can have exactly the control feedback you want. You want feedback from your lighting control, your security system, your streaming device, your AV receiver, your multi-zone audio piece. It's all on there. All right, so that's the Pro 24Z. R system, Z system. If everybody understands that, I'm probably beating it into the ground. I just want to make sure that everybody understands you don't use an R remote with a Z processor and vice versa. You either have a one-way system or a two-way system. So let's talk a little bit about the ProLink Z processor. This looks a lot like the ProLink R processor, but it's got a lot more capability. Number one, it has that Zigbee antenna built in, so we can have that bidirectional communication with the Pro 24Z remote control and feedback, metadata. The processor has the ability to control devices in a number of different ways. It has IR ports on there, routable, so I can have 3 of the same model cable box and not have to worry about cross-talking between those devices. It has 2 bidirectional serial ports. If you want to hook it up to an April Air thermostat, you want to hook it up to a security panel that uses RS-232, we can control and receive feedback that way. Maybe you have an older AV receiver with a serial port, you can do that. It has the ability to control via IP or TCP, so we can control the equipment and receive the metadata, and then the processor sends that metadata back to the user interface, be it a remote control, be it a tablet, be it a smartphone. It also has voltage sensing inputs built into it. So maybe you have a device that doesn't have discrete power commands. Fortunately, there's not all that many of those things anymore, but they still do exist. We can base logic programming off of these voltage sensing inputs. The projector has a 12-volt trigger to drop the screen. I can connect that to one of my voltage sensing inputs so I know when the projector is on or when it's off, and I can create conditional logic programming based on that. If the projector's on, leave it on and switch to HDMI 1. If it's not on, turn it on, wait 25 seconds, and then turn it to HDMI 1. So you can use it not only in a scenario where you don't have a discrete power command, but maybe you want to eliminate the turn-on delays that you build into your macros. I can ping the device and tell that it's on in a variety of ways, voltage sensing, TCP IP, or RS-232. If it's on, leave it on and switch the input. But if it's not on, then go through the turn-on routine, power it up, wait 30 seconds, and then hit the input. So it allows you to build a more efficient system on there. All these devices are PC programmable. They're not programmed on the devices themselves. They all have little micro USB ports on them. We can plug into our laptop, download the programming into it. With the case of the ProLink Z processor, we can also program that over the local area network. So Pro Control Studio programming software will find that device on the network, show you its IP address, its MAC address, its name if it has one, and you can download the programming to it over the local area network. So you don't have to be digging around behind the entertainment center or go find the rack. Makes it real simple. You can just sit there in your programming station, program it, update it, and then start using it and emulating it and see how it works. And there's also a bidirectional app for this, of course, that uses either smartphones or tablets, as we mentioned earlier. All right, so we've talked about the ProLink R and the ProLink Pro 24R remote control. We talked about the Pro 24Z remote control and the ProLink Z processor. Hopefully everybody understands that. It's real simple. There's not 15 different SKUs here. There's a one-way system and a two-way system, and that's going to cover just about everything that you need to do. Now, one very notable feature of the ProLink Z and the Pro 24Z remote, the bidirectional system, is that they are also capable of being used in RTI's programming environment. So let's say that you sell that customer a Pro Control system. You put in a Pro 24Z and a ProLink Z processor. You're just controlling a single room. That customer calls you back and says, you know what, this is working great. We're finishing our basement. We want to put some speakers outside on the patio. We want to, expand this into a whole house system. Unlike a lot of the more entry-level systems that you've used in the past, you don't rip this out and sell them something different. We can take the ProLink system and the Pro 24Z remote control. We can open them up in Integration Designer, which is RTI's programming environment. We have no Integration Designer Apex. These are now treated as RTI devices, meaning that I can scale it up to any size necessary. You want to do a 20,000 square foot house with Pro Control? You can do that now because you can do it in RTI's programming environment. You want to add an Android device? You can do that in RTI's Integration Designer Apex. You want to add an RTI touch panel? You want to put a 10-inch piece of glass in the wall? You can do that in Integration Designer Apex. So what it really does is it opens it up, and we can now treat these as RTI devices in there. And as many of you know, you can do any size project necessary with the RTI. So these are treated exactly as RTI devices. That's a huge selling point to your customers. Listen, you're not painting yourself into a corner by buying this. We're not going to have to rip this out if you decide you want to scale it up later. You sell them a Z-Series Pro Control, it can be the start of a huge system. You can do anything you want, and that's always a really great way to talk to your customers. Have a reason to call them. Hey, did you know We can add a touch panel in your wall, which is a very handy thing. Hey, did you know we can expand this throughout your whole house? There's a lot of very cool things you can do, but you're never going to run out of capability with a Pro 24Z remote control and a ProLink Z processor. Get to a couple questions here on the website here. Somebody's asking, can the remote send IR in addition to the IR ports blasting? Yes, absolutely. That's a really good question. You can. So we can have a single macro or a single button press where maybe we use the remote control to turn on the television system by blasting IR off the front of the remote control. But we also need to talk to the processor. We need to talk RF to the stuff that's in the entertainment center so we can control the Apple TV, the Blu-ray player, and the cable box from the processor. So absolutely, we can do IR simultaneously, both the remote control and the processor in the same macro at the same time. Really good question. Somebody's question, how do I add more RS-232 ports? Another great question. There's 2 bidirectional RS-232 ports on the ProLink Z processor, and that's all you get. But if you program this in RTI's programming environment, so again, this is free software that allows you to use all the different RTI accessories that we have available. And one of those accessories is called the ESC2, which is a little network mountable box. It's about the size of a matchbook. It's really tiny. Mounts in the network, and it gives me 2 more bidirectional RS-232 ports, and I can put them anywhere that I can get a network connection to them. I've even used them with those cheap Ethernet over power line adapters, which work really well because the network traffic is so low. So it makes it a real easy way to get that RS-232 port exactly where you need it. And as many of you know, the RS-232 protocol really only allows control depending on baud rate for a very limited distance. You can't go thousands of feet with RS-232, but you can with network, which means I could take that ESC2 from RTI, use it with Pro Control, and I can put it right into my security can, or I can put it right up where my NVR is. It can be, 1,000 feet away from the central control processor, because we're not running RS-232 that distance. We're running Ethernet. So now I can have that local RS-232 connection right there at the device where it needs it. Maybe it's up above a projector in a sports bar, whatever it happens to be. So excellent questions. Thank you very much. Keep them coming. I'm happy to try and answer them for you as we go. All right, let's move on to the next slide. The Pro Panel application. So everybody wants to use smartphones. Everybody wants to use tablets to control their system, and we're no exception. We want to make sure you have that capability as well. So both systems, both the R and the Z, have the Pro Panel application. Now, there's a significant difference, obviously. If you're using it with the R system, it's one way. So we don't get any feedback on there. So with the R system, it's limited to one-way use. We don't get any feedback because the R processor doesn't have any feedback capability. It also only works on site. Since our feedback using the R is really something happening, it's a light turning on, it's the volume turning up, we don't really want to have that kind of capability off-site because it doesn't do any good because you can't get any feedback as to what's happening. So there's a one-way version of Pro Panel app for the R series product and a two-way version available for the ProLink Z series product. Now, a really common question is, you can use the apps without a remote control. In many cases, that makes sense. So because it's a super budget-minded customer, they can simply use their phone or they can use their iPad to control the system, no remote control necessary. Another nice thing about our licensing is the license is tied to the processor. It's not tied to the user's smartphone or tablet. So when the user gets a new phone, they don't need to buy a new license. We simply power cycle the processor, kick the old one out, add the new one in, and they're using their brand new phone, and it's very easy. And again, the programming, this is all automatic, but it's all completely customizable. Make it look, sing, act, dance the way you want. You want to show the temperature on every page. You want to show a weather forecast. You want to show the time. Battery level, you can show anything you want on the top and bottom toolbars or in there. There are things called viewports, so I can have sliding panes with different functions. Here's my lighting, here's my security, here's my thermostat. I can swipe through without selecting individual buttons. It's a very powerful app, and it works very, very nicely. With the Pro 24Z and the ProLink Z, if we're using the Pro Panel two-way capability, it also has WAN access, wide area network, meaning that I can do it from anywhere in the world that I can get an internet connection. So I can be at the airport and I can check my security cameras and I can arm my security system and make sure that the basement TV is off because the kids left it on. So control and access from anywhere in the world with full feedback, with full metadata. Now, when people started initially using smartphones, tablets, iPads as controllers, they thought, well, wow, this is great. This means we no longer need to have a remote control in the house. I no longer need to spend money and have that stick remote there to watch TV. I can do it right from my phone. I can do it right from my iPad. And that's true, you can, and you can still do it today. But I think as the market has matured, and certainly as you integrators have matured, I think we've all come to realize that even though you can do something, doesn't necessarily mean you should do something. I use my iPad to control my system all the time, but I generally do it for things like multi-zone audio. I do it for remote access when I'm not at home and when I'm traveling. But when I'm sitting down watching TV, generally, I don't look at the remote control. I want that zero latency control. So if I want to control the TV, oh, wait, here, let me pick up my iPad, unlock it, swipe it, open the app, wait for the amp to launch, get to the right page, hit the pause button. Well, we're already through all the commercials. What sense does it make? And every time I want to change the volume, what do I have to do? Wake it up, swipe it, hit the button, turn it up. Look at the iPad while I do it. It's not necessarily the best experience for a user. So I'm really a huge proponent of some kind of dedicated, hard button, zero latency remote control in every system, especially in every viewing zone. I think it's critical because people like to just be able to navigate the controller, not have to look at it, get that tactile feedback from the button, get those zero latency button presses. So the iPro 8 is our answer to that. And the iPro 8 is designed as a companion to the Pro Panel application. So essentially, you can think of it as a set of hard buttons that tracks along with the screen, which is your smartphone or tablet. I hit watch TV from my iPad, and now when I want to pause the movie, I don't need to grab my iPad, wake it up, get to the app, and hit pause. I can simply reach over to the iPro 8, which is very inexpensive. It's under $90 dealer cost, and simply hit the pause button, or the mute button, or the channel up button. Zero latency hard buttons that track along with the iPad. So if I'm watching TV, all the buttons on the iPro 8, they're talking to my cable box or my TiVo. If I'm watching a movie, they're talking to my Apple TV or my Roku. If I'm listening to music, they're controlling the transport functions of whatever streamer or disc player or whatever it is that I'm using. So it's essentially a set of hard buttons that tracks along with that screen. It's a companion remote. Now, some things to note about this companion remote. It's very inexpensive. It's under $90 dealer cost. And it doesn't have some of the same features that the other remote controls, the Pro 24R and the Pro 24Z have. You can't send IR out the top of this device. It doesn't have rechargeable batteries. It doesn't have backlit hard buttons on there. So it's not really the same. It's really designed for that customer that insists on using their iPad and iPhone for everything. This is a great way to put some real control in their hands. So it's designed as a companion remote to the Pro Panel application. Now, let's say you have a low usage room. Maybe you have a guest room that doesn't need, that comprehensive controller in there. You can use the iPro 8 as its own remote control, as long as the limitations that it has are acceptable to the project, that you can't send IR out the front, most notably. It's perfectly usable in those scenarios. It doesn't have to be used with the application. It can be used just as a remote control, but it does require that processor in order to use. Now, this has both RF and Zigbee capability, so it works with both the Pro 24R and the ProLink R system, and it works with the Pro 24Z and the ProLink Z system. Works with both. Excuse me. Here's a great question. Is the iPro 8 compatible with Apex and RTI like the Pro 24Z is? And the answer is yes, it is. But RTI also has a version of this as well, called the Surfer. So they're essentially identical and they're the same price. So if you're doing it, you can purchase it as an RTI device, or you can use the iPro 8 and Integration Designer Apex, and you can program it there. Absolutely. Great question. All right. Here's some accessories that we have in the lineup. Now, the Pro RF-Z is a Zigbee range extender. The ProLink Z central control processor has a Zigbee antenna built into it, and depending on your environment, you can get up to around 100 feet of range on that. But what if you need more? What if I want to do a 4-zone system? Maybe I'm using an RTI distributed audio amp, or I'm using Sonos or Nuvo or whatever my streamer of choice is. I have TVs in each room. I want the capability to have remote controls and only one central control processor. Now, we can do that with the Z system, and we can expand our Zigbee range to whatever we needed to by using Pro RF-Zs. They're wireless, they plug into the wall, and they're essentially a Zigbee repeater or a Zigbee bridge. And we provide some tools in our software and with our remote so you can actually measure your Zigbee range effectively and determine the precise placement for these devices. So it's real easy to do. And this is technology inherited directly from RTI. So expand that, scale it up, put it in any size project you need. Start with a single room in the theater or in the living room, grow it out to control the whole house, and you don't have to pull any more wires in order to do it. At least for antennas you don't, because you can use these Pro RFZs. They are wireless. You simply need an outlet. They plug in and they're configured wirelessly. So one of the accessories that's available. We also have a dedicated hardware Z-Wave interface. So if you want to use some Z-Wave lighting solutions, Pro Control has a Z-Wave lighting solution, RTI has a Z-Wave lighting solution, Leviton, all kinds of companies have Z-Wave devices, Z-Wave locks, Z-Wave thermostats. So here's an easy way to do it. The Pro ZWI really, truly, I believe, has the best Z-Wave interface of any that I've ever used. And I've tried a lot. I've tried the VR Cop, I've tried the Vera Light, WeCast Averti devices, and they can be, clunky at best, cumbersome at worst. This is a very, very sophisticated, very easy to set up Z-Wave interface. So this is compatible with the ProLink Z processor and gives you that Z-Wave capability, which is a great way to build a full-featured, inexpensive smart home by using easy and inexpensive Z-Wave devices. It makes it very simple to add the features that all your customers are asking for. Pro ZWI. Pro IRCV.4, this is just an IR connecting block. Let's say that you don't have enough IR ports on your ProLink R processor. It only has 4. I need some more. This is essentially a distribution block. It is passive. It does not require power. So I can take one of those IR ports and plug up to 4 emitters into it so I can scale it out. Now keep in mind these are not routable. So you're not going to want to plug 2 of the same cable boxes or Apple TVs into the same IRCB because they're going to get the same commands and they're going to crosstalk. But if you need to scale it up, you need to get some more IR ports, put some more emitters in there, here's a cheap, easy, and efficient way to do it. The Pro IRCV4. You don't have to get out those beanies or those dolphins anymore to start creating your own double, triple, quadruple IR emitters. And the Pro Relay 4. This is a really handy accessory. And again, this mounts on the network, and this is taken directly out of RTI's price book. This gives us more relays on the processor. So if you need to close a garage door, run an irrigation system, drop a screen, turn on a cooling fan in the rack, whatever you use relays for, this allows you to do it. So this just mounts on the network, and it gives me individually controllable relays. Normally open, I can configure them, normally closed, and then I have commands, open, close for a specific duration of time. They can be part of a macro. They can be part of events. I can have scheduled events, every day at 2 o'clock, hit this button to drop the screens or to turn on the open sign at the front of the nail salon where you're working, whatever it happens to be. So you can do really powerful, sophisticated routines using not only the relays that are built into the processor, but you can use them with the Pro Relay 4 also. Good question. How many Pro Relay 4s can I add up to a system? It's essentially unlimited. I don't know of a limit. The limit is really a software limitation. You can have up to 256 devices, and that's Pro Control devices, mind you, not control devices, but Pro Control devices in a single system file. So you could theoretically have a ProLink Z processor and 255 Pro Relay 4s if you wanted to. So there's no limit. The limit is theoretical, not practical. And if any of you have a situation where you need 257 Pro Relay 4s in your project, give me a call. He'll help you figure out a better way to do it, or we'll change the software to accommodate it if it makes sense. So it's more of a theoretic limit than a hardware limit or a practical limit. Excellent question. All right, so we've talked about the remote controls. We've talked about the central control processors, and we've really talked about the difference between a base station and a central control processor. And that's what I really want you to take away from this. It's a lot of information. But if you understand the difference between a base station and a central control processor, if you understand the difference between the feature set of Pro Control versus whatever it was you were using before Pro Control, I think the choice is going to be pretty clear for you. Touch screens, rechargeable batteries, charging docks, IR and RF on a single button press, the capability of integrating it into an RTI control system to scale it up to any level that you want, a 3-year warranty, the fact that it's sold to integrators only. We don't sell at retail. We don't sell online. Take your favorite entry-level brand of control that you're using right now. Maybe it's Logitech. Maybe it's URC. I don't know what it is. Go on Amazon and see if you can buy it. Try the same thing with Pro Control and see what comes up. We're very, very serious about making this a dealer-only product. We don't want to sell this to end users. We do not give the programming software to end users. I want to make sure that this is a product for professional integrators. I want you to put this on your bids with confidence and know that you're not going to be cross-shopped because it's not hanging on the flat wall at Best Buy. It's not available on Walmart.com. You're not going to find it on Amazon. So you can make your 40, 50 points plus programming, plus install, or whatever it is that you're business needs to make for margin, it's easily done with Pro Control. It is designed for professional integrators only. You, as integrators, are our only path to market. We do not compete with you. We do not sell direct to consumer. We do not allow online sales. We do not allow retail sales. It is an installed product and is only installed by professional RTI and Pro Control dealers. So it's a solution designed for you folks, and that's just it. You don't have to worry about your customer saying, hey, I saw this on Amazon for $20 less than you're selling it to me. What else are you ripping me off on? It's not going to happen with Pro Control. So go ahead and Google it. Google your favorite controller, and then Google Pro Control and see what pops up in there. So it's something that we're really taking that 25-year RTI heritage, both in technology, but also in business practice. RTI has always been dedicated to the custom integrator. Pro Control is RTI, and Pro Control is also dedicated to the custom integrator. That's it. We only sell through professional integrators. On the chat window, somebody's asking if there's a Relay 8 module. There is not. RTI used to have a called RCM 8, which is an IR-controlled 8 relay box. It's been discontinued for several years. Now, both RTI and Pro Control use a version of the Pro Relay 4. It's called the RCM4 in RTI's world, but it's essentially the same chunk of hardware. You need 8 relays, you need 2 boxes. So, another great question. Thank you for that. All right, so I alluded to this a little bit earlier, but you've got some options when it comes to programming Pro Control Studio. Pro Control Studio is the programming environment. And again, if you're interested in learning more about programming, there's some videos, there's some technical documents on the Pro Control website. Your capital sales representative can help you get access to that website. I can help you get access to that website. You're welcome to email me at clint@rticorp.com. But we want to make sure that you understand how to program this stuff. So via webinar, via recorded videos, via technical documentation, it's all there and it's all available for you. So Pro Control Studio programs all Pro Control devices. The Pro 24R and Pro Link R system, the Pro 24Z Pro Link system. They can both be programmed in Pro Control Studio. But you'll see here at the bottom, you can also program the Pro 24Z Pro Link Z product in RTI's Integration Designer Apex, which again allows you to add that ESP2 RS232 module. Maybe you need to do a huge commercial grade switcher for a bar and you have a ProLink Z processor in there. We might not have that driver in Pro Control Studio, but we certainly have it over in RTI's world. So just program in RTI's Integration Designer Apex and you have access to the entire library of RTI drivers, including the third-party drivers that RTI developers write for the RTI platform. Now you can use those on the ProLink Z processor. So it really makes it a wonderful option for scaling this thing up. So program it in Pro Control Studio, which is quick, it's easy, it has great auto build capability, but it's still tweakable and customizable, and you can make the UI look exactly the way that you want, make it look exactly the way that your customer wants. And a great example of this is when I use Pro Control, I have a Blu-ray player in my house. Now, sometimes I want to use that Blu-ray player as an audio transport. I want to place CDs in it. So I can go into the pre-built Blu-ray player page that Integration Designer Apex built for me or Pro Control Studio built for me, and I simply want to put a TV off button on there so I can choose the source for the Blu-ray, turn off the TV and just listen to music through it. So I can add that button on there anywhere that I want. I can use a hard button or a touch panel button. So the idea is you can really tailor the experience. You can create a bespoke experience for your end user. You don't have to have them comply to the control system. Your control system can comply to your user a little bit. Maybe you have a consumer with poor vision. Maybe it's an elderly client. Create larger buttons with bolder text or bright yellow text or bright green text or bright red buttons. You can really, really tailor and customize this to suit the needs of your particular client very fast and very easily. Pro Control Studio is really the precursor. This came out before Integration Designer Apex. That's where we, kind of test bed a lot of the things that are now in RTI's programming environment. Pro Control being the little brother to RTI gave us the ability to do that. So you'll find that there's a lot of capability in here for building it. Like I said, I can go through and I can add a remote, a processor, add another remote, add an iPad to the system, and I want to control a TV via IR. I want to control a receiver via RS232. I want to control a Sonos Connect via IP. I want to control a Nest thermostat. I want to control a quick set Zigbee or Z-Wave door lock. I could program that system in a matter of minutes, probably 10 minutes, including the little tweaks and customizing that I want to do to make it custom for my user. It's really fast, really easy. But this is still, part of RTI's heritage, which means we believe in giving the integrator the ability to make this thing work, function, look exactly the way that they want. So you can do it the way that we auto build it, but you can go in and tweak it, and you can customize it, or you can build something from scratch. It's completely up to you as the integrator. Dive as deep as you want with this. Get as granular as you want with it. Control as many devices as you want. Do whatever you want with it. It's a tool for the custom integrator, and it's designed to be as such. Pro Control Studio does not require an internet connection in order to program the devices. Some of you run into that, I'm sure, where you get out there, do it, there's no internet, all of a sudden you can't program the device. What do I do now? Go home, program it, bring it back, and hope it works tomorrow? Not super great. So it doesn't need an internet connection to work. It's a dedicated standalone chunk of software. But if you do have that online connection, it does give you some capabilities. If it's connected to LAN, it means I can download programming to my ProLink Z processor. It means that it can auto-check and auto-update my software to make sure that I have the latest IR codes, drivers, and the latest build of the software. So you definitely want to get it online once in a while, but it is not required in order to program the stuff. But most importantly, guys, it's only available to you. We don't make the software publicly available. We don't give it to your end user. We don't give users the tools to circumvent the professional integrator. Like I said, we're completely dedicated to the professional integrator, both in our pricing policies, our programming policies, and our sales policies. We only exist to serve the professional integrator. You're our customer. We want to make sure that you have the tools you need to run a profitable and efficient business. Pro Control Studio is a great example of that. It's a brilliant piece of software. It's easy to use. It's fully customizable. It's incredibly fast. Compare it to what you're doing now. Give it a chance, and I think you'll see between the advantages of things like rechargeable batteries, touchscreens, central control processors, and achievable product margins, I don't know why anybody else would sell anything else at the entry level. It's so powerful. It's so versatile. It's so profitable. It's going to be a great addition to your business. And I'm working with Capital Sales right now to create some special promos. If you're new to Pro Control and Pro Control Studio, we're going to get you some discounts on these products. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that. You'll get an email from us, from Capital Sales, telling you about that. But we're going to have some introductory specials for you. But think about adding this as your new entry-level product. Capital Sales has chosen as their exclusive entry-level product. And as you know, they're pretty smart folks there. So there must be a good reason for it. You're all pretty smart folks too by being on this webinar. Give it a try. See what you think. I think you're going to be happy with it. And you're always able to call me. If you need any help with programming, call Pro Control Tech Support, call RTI Tech Support, call me, call Chris Scanlan, call your Capital Sales representative. There's a lot of resources out there to help you, especially as you're getting started. Somebody asked earlier about some of the devices that we have capability with, and here's just a splash screen that shows some of those. But the common ones that people ask about: Sonos, Nest, Kios, Lutron, TiVo, Philips Hue, all the common stuff. And this is just a short list of all the devices that are on there. But you're going to find the typical distributed audio products: streamers, Roku's, Apple TV, all the stuff that you're normally using in a job of this type and the scale are in there, plus a lot more. And they're already built into the software, so it makes it a very, very powerful and easy system to integrate with. And then I just put up a quick comparison chart. So you might be able to compare it. Maybe you were purchasing URC from Capital Sales earlier. You're not doing that anymore because now we're their exclusive control line. But check this out. It's just a comparison chart, and Chris can share this with you as well, comparing retail price compared to feature sets. And, you know, it tells the tale right there. We have the biggest touch screens. We have touch screens. We've got an unlimited number of buttons on the screen. You're not limited to simple text or a simple number of buttons. There's no maximum number of devices that can be controlled. Two-way communication is available on the Z series product. Rechargeable batteries on everything. Tilt sensor, so when you pick it up, it turns on automatically. A 3-year warranty out of the box, and no online sales. And as I said, lots of companies say they don't allow online sales. So check them out. Put them to the test. See how easy it is to find their product versus my product online. And I think you'll see there's no comparison. It's really a great choice. It's simple. It's exceedingly powerful. It's all programmed the same way, and it's also upwardly mobile. Scale it up into a full-blown RTI system if that ever becomes necessary. What a great thing to be able to tell customers in this world of advancing technology. This is as close to future-proof as you're going to get. The ProLink Z and the Pro 24Z system are as close to future-proof as you're going to get in the entry-level control space. We can put this in, and as technologies come, it's going to adapt to them because it has the ability to do not only IR and serial, but TCP/IP control to run drivers, expand, scale, become part of the RTI ecosystem, it's really a simple choice. There's no finer product built. You know, we waited a long time to build an entry-level product. We've been Pro Control for a few years now, but we generally just did, you know, higher-end systems. We didn't play in the entry-level waters, but we found that there was a space. We didn't think anybody was really doing it right. The right combination of business practices, feature sets, technology, warranty. Nobody we thought was doing it right. We think Pro Control does it right, and I think you'll agree if you give it a try. So there's a lot of great things available in Pro Control compared to the other pieces that are out there. So here it is in a nutshell. I'm a terrible PowerPoint presenter. I'm sorry, I already told you all these things. Only filter distribution. Pro Control does not compete with you. This is your margin to make, not ours. There are no online sales, and if you see online sales, you let Capital Sales know, or you let me know immediately, and we'll go to every length necessary to get it removed. The software is exclusively for professional integrators. It's not available to end users. There's nobody undercutting you on this. 3-year direct replacement warranty. You got a problem? Take it back to Capital Sales, send it back. They're going to send you a new product for 3 years. Graphical-based drag and drop programming, completely customizable. Programming and training is free, and all dealers are approved by local distributors. We're not just filling every trunk in town with this. If you want to sell Pro Control, you have to fill out an online dealer agreement that says, hey, I agree not to sell this online. I agree not to give out the programming software. I agree to honor all the policies that Pro Control is requesting, so we can keep the distribution very, very clean and make sure that everybody can make some money on this product. So that's all I got. That's my presentation, folks. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I'm going to hit a couple of questions here in the chat window and try and answer those for you. And if you do have any more questions, I'm happy to stay on as long as you would like. So a couple of questions that are on here. What about Samsung SmartThing? I don't think we have a driver for that in Pro Control, although I haven't looked at it in a while. It might be available. I do believe it's available in RTI's ecosystem. So if you're using the ProLink Z processor, which you would be with any kind of Ethernet controlled device, you can program it in RTI's Integration Designer Apex, and I'm almost certain they have a driver for that product. Controlling Fire Stick, I can't answer that. I'm not sure. I know that there is a Amazon Fire driver available in RTI, and I'm not certain if it's available in Pro Control Studio. I don't have it up on my screen right now. I apologize. I'm traveling. But I do believe that there's no issues whatsoever controlling that device. If there is, you can certainly use a basic Bluetooth to IR converter, IR to Bluetooth converter, and control it that way. The IR codes are certainly in the library. So very good questions, folks. Thank you. Any other questions, please feel free to post them in the chat window or in the question box, and I'll be happy to answer those. And in the meantime, I'm going to turn it over to Chris, see if he has anything to say while any questions are coming up.
Well, I want to thank you, first of all, Clint, for taking time out of your day as well to go over all the new the Pro Control line and where it sits and what it has to offer. And I want to thank you guys for hopping on and taking time out of your day as well. I do see a question that popped up. Is there any way to use a touchscreen like a KX2?
Great question. Absolutely. If you're using the ProLink Z processor, you can program it in Integration Designer Apex, and that gives you access to the entire world of RTI products. So if you want to use a KX2 in Pro Control, absolutely. You just program an Integration Designer Apex. You can use any driver, any chunk of hardware from RTI's vast repertoire of products. Excellent question.
Any other questions, guys? Again, I know we covered a lot today. There's, you know, the great thing about our Pro Control is it's really actually a simplistic lineup. I mean, we've got 2 remotes, 2 base stations, and, you know, half a dozen accessories. I mean, but it's with that lineup, I mean, it makes it easy to spec, but it's extremely powerful. And one of the huge things is being able to start with the Z series processor and being able to roll from, you know, home theater, something nice and easy you want to program and control. But when the family or the house or the facility wants to expand, you don't have to rip out the hardware. You can reprogram it in RTI. So really a great product. One more question popped up. Can we use this remote with the XP processor for an extra room?
Absolutely, yes. You sure can. Again, the qualification is you do it in Integration Designer Apex, not in Pro Control Studio. In fact, over in the RTI world, we have a new product. It's called the C2K1 kit, where it's a Pro 24Z remote control. It's an RTI XP3 processor and an unlimited license. So we're actually, you know, fully factory endorsing the hybridization of these 2 devices. So if you want to use a Pro 24Z in a lesser used room and you have an RTI XP processor, knock yourself out. You can do it. Can the R series remote work with the Z series processor? No, unfortunately it cannot. R goes with R, Z goes with Z, Z goes with RTI, and that's really how it works. So the R system is the R system. It cannot be controlled with RTI, it cannot be programmed with RTI, it cannot talk to a ProLink Z processor. So the R is the R, the Z is the Z. The Z is the answer if you think there's ever a chance that this is going to scale up, you're going to need to add more devices or something with IP control. Sell them a Z right off the bat. That's the right play. If it's something where it's exceedingly budget limited, then the R is a great choice. The R is expandable, scalable, customizable, rechargeable batteries. It's an incredible product, but it also kind of is what it is. It's a one-way device, and there's really no way for us to take that one-way device and incorporate it into the larger world of what you can do with the ProLink Z and the RTI world. If you'll notice on the chat window, I popped my email address in there for you. It's clintf@rticorp.com. If you have any specific questions, feel free to reach out to Chris. Feel free to reach out to Capital Sales. Feel free to reach out to me directly. I'm happy to answer your questions if I can. So pop me an email if you like. Happy to try and answer those for you. I'd like to thank you all again for all the great questions. I'd like to thank you for your time. It was a great session. I hope you learned something. I hope you'll give Pro Control a try. There's a lot of reasons to do so. So with that, I guess I'm done unless there's any more questions.
Well, Clint, there's one other one that popped up real quick. Amazon Alexa.
I bet you can answer that yourself, folks. Yes, absolutely, in the RTI environment. I think you're going to see an Amazon Alexa driver in Pro Control sooner than later. We have it over in RTI right now, so you can do it there. But I think you're going to see not only Amazon Alexa, but I think you'll see a Google Home driver and possibly something for HomeKit as well. That's definitely at the top of our radar screen, so you're going to get more and more things moving towards that. But Amazon Alexa is a very popular one, and really all you need to do is program it in RTI's environment today until we get an Alexa driver in Pro Control Studio. So you can still do it, just one more step.
Hey, thanks a lot, Clint. I want to thank you guys again for hopping on, taking time out of your day. If you guys have any questions, reach out to myself, your local account manager, Capital, RTI. We're all here to help you and answer your questions. So I want to let you guys get back to it and just thank you guys and hope to see you guys in the next webinar. Thank you, Clint.
Thank you very much, Chris. Thank you, folks. Appreciate it. Take care. Let me know if I can help.